Hello everybody, warm welcome to my video about AI at the core of every QA process. In the next 60 seconds I would like to explain to you how we can use AI from end-to-end quality engineering from requirements to audit compliant reports. I'm Stefan Walter, I'm Senior Vice President at MSG Group. Let me explain the issues first. So many QA teams are bolting AI onto a manual process. The pipeline itself stays unchanged, but within these different process steps for our AI agents used, which are not really integrated. And the problem starts actually with the beginning, with the requirements, which means the format friction is at the intake. So requirements are not coming directly out of any kind of Jira or Confluence system. They're actually written by the line of business in a Word, PDF or similar document structure and then imported into such kind of tools like Jira and Confluence. At the end, test engineers need to take these requirements and create test cases based out of those, which is very time consuming and error prone. The second step is that defects are found too late because of the not really correct requirements and the gap between requirements engineers and test engineers. There are defects which actually slip through and they are detected too late, and which is really expensive. And third issue is that there is fixed capacity. Normally the team consists of a certain amount of test engineers and requirements engineers, and it's not really able to scale. So what we would like to do and what we like to achieve is that we actually have pre-release spikes in terms of testing, we have audits and incidents, but on the other hand the team size goes down, so we would like to have a certain set of flexible capacity which can be adjusted during the time. Which means that we have a shift from add-on AI, meaning using AI with a still kind of headcount of people with the same processes versus structural AI. So this is for us a completely different approach how we actually address quality engineering. So which means it's process, not prompt driven, and this is what msg.TestCaseGen.ai is about. Normally you have no real domain knowledge into a testing team, especially not in your AI agents you're using. So you have inconsistent results. So every time you run an AI agent, for instance, for creating test cases, you get different kind of results. This is the topic and the general issue you have with AI agents. So there's no reproducibility, no auditability. On the other hand, there are no real audit trails. Audit trails in terms of taking changes and actually understand how the changes have been done, understand the changes between different kind of releases. And there is no real tool integration. Of course, every tool vendor has its own AI agent, but there are tools which are not really compatible with each other. So there is no real tool integration with a manual handover every time from one tool to another tool. So at the end, there's no structured workflow. So what we would actually like to achieve is to have a single workflow across going all these kind of systems. So which means TestCaseGen.ai is really focusing on structured QA process logic, plus domain expertise, plus large language model technology, meaning AI agents. So we combine our QA understanding in combination with the domain expertise of the software system by integrating and taking all kind of documentation into that system. So which actually results in auditable, reproducible results. It's enterprise scalable because it's not really depending on the amount of people, it's more depending on the capacity on the computing resources. But still, it's the engineer at the center, meaning human in the loop. It's not completely processed automatically. It's very important for us that the engineer at the center of this whole process and actually is responsible for that kind of process. When we take a look at the pipeline, we see that on the left hand side requirements coming in for Word, PDF and Confluence. We have analysis stage, which is actually done by TestCaseGen.ai. So we actually analyze these kind of requirements. We do the classifications, we understand gaps. We actually see contradictions between these kind of requirements. And based on this information, we actually leverage the large language models to generate test case scenarios as well as dedicated test case steps. And these steps actually are based on a process model which is integrated into TestCaseGen.ai. So we are capable of taking documents, extracting and understanding BPMN notated documents into real processes and compare these kind of processes. And based on these processes, we actually at the end generate necessary testing steps. So at the end, we make a handover, for instance, to Confluence and Jira or any kind of other job to do. Then these kind of documents, these kind of test cases are actually executed manually or automated. So because we actually generate really detailed steps, testing steps, we actually can use closed code, for instance, or any other type of large language model or AI agent to really automatically execute, for instance, UX tests based on these detailed testing steps. Additionally, we do have a possibility to integrate these kind of test steps into MSG Pathbrains, our crowd testing platform, to have our huge 20,000 people crowd actually testing it, or for instance use our MSG performance testing service to do load and performance tests. At the end, once this is done, these kind of results are actually transported into msg.TestCaseGen.ai for audit and compliance. So we have one use case, one process actually to go through every kind of steps. And the core technology underneath is MCP, the Multi Context Protocol, to actually flexibly integrate these kind of steps into one workflow. So several workflow technology we could use, for instance, Playwright or NHN. At the bottom, we see that we have several possibilities to integrate our expertise into it. So we have a domain database, a knowledge database, which actually is integrated and reused in TestCaseGen to actually get better results in test case generation and requirements comparison. So it actually leverages our MSG group methods and approaches. So this overall actually leads to 3 times faster test case generation. It's 100% traceable and actually allows you to scale because it's not really demanding on headcounts. It's actually at the end demanding on computing resources. So as said, the core of this whole process is MCP. So MCP gives us the necessary flexibility. That's the standard actually to have AI agents communicate to each other. And so it's open. Yeah, so it gives us a stage-to-stage orchestration. So we have a possibility to flexibly exchange information like test cases, requirements, and so on and so forth. And the third point actually is the most important one. It actually allows us to generate software source code based on requirements. TestCaseGen is actually comparing and actually creating user stories, use cases, and test cases out of it. So it's actually input for developing new software systems, for instance, through cloud code. So on the other hand, when we have identified certain bugs or defects, these are actually then mentioned, for instance, or actually coming up in the automated test case. We do have a possibility through the workflows to actually get them back, put them into TestCaseGen again, make a new revision of the test scenarios and test cases, so that actually we make sure that this bug is actually next time identified and actually put into our testing database, for instance, for regression tests. So the benefits are that there's really seamless integration. It's a no bespoke integration. We have unbroken traceability. It's not a set of tools, it's a whole traceability from end to end. And actually get everything together, we tool everything together, and of course it's future safe because it's future ready by standard. So why msg.TestCaseGen.ai? So it's really a structural AI platform. It's not just an add-on, as said. So it takes any kind of documents, Word documents, Confluence documents from the beginning on, from the requirements on, because requirements are a heartbeat for test cases. So it takes them on the other hand, we actually compare these requirements, and based on the requirements, we do risk-weighted generation. So based on the risks test case gen identified in certain use cases, we actually prioritize them, we make them more detailed, actually increase software quality based on the requirements on. It's a basis for vibe coding. Yeah, so automatically you can create, based on these requirements and test cases, a software system or update an existing software system. We have self-healing tests, yeah, which means on the other hand, when we do test execution, we bring back these kind of results into TestCaseGen.ai. We can actually adjust the requirements, we can adjust the test cases, and actually start the process from the beginning on. This MCT native. It's running in the EU, so we are compatible with the EU AI Act by design, and if we want to, it's completely deployable on premise with your own sovereignty. Which means, on the other hand, from a business side, TestCaseGen.ai, the AI platform for quality assurance, gives you huge velocity. So we are talking about testing quality assurance in days, but not weeks. So we detect defects very early, and on the other hand, it gives you the possibility with a small team, beginning with a small team, to have a very huge test coverage, because it really allows us to scale in terms of operational expenses, not capital expenses. So no real lower fixed costs, and gives you the possibility of higher flexible costs to actually scale with the amount of features and functions you have with your system, but still keeping a certain set of core test engineers without really getting new people on board. So which is certainly something which gives you which doesn't really fix the money and can contain the money, so it's more gives you more budget for software development, as an example. Good. Are you ready for the next step? Yes, please don't hesitate to contact me or to our solution architect, Friedrich Meyer. You'll find all these contact details here on that slide. So thanks a lot for your time, and talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Thank you.